Welcome. Let's get started. There's Mays. Yes. Wyden was going to come, but he's under the weather.
Yeah, I don't think he's feeling it.
Let's go, Miss Maisie.
She comes.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I want to thank Senators Stabenow, Heinrich, and Hirono for joining us today. Obviously, the top of mind for everyone today, myself included, is the debt limit. As we know, this afternoon, Speaker McCarthy will be meeting with the President, and I'm hoping he comes ready and equipped with a plan to move forward and avoid catastrophic default. House Republicans are struggling to grasp a harsh reality about being in the majority. There's no good substitute for having a plan. You can't solve the nation's biggest problems without a plan we can debate in Congress and to which the American people can judge for themselves. We have a plan. It's very simple. No hostage-taking, no brinksmanship. We incurred these debts already. We should just pay them. The Republicans say no. Well, what's their alternative? We haven't seen it. Speaker McCarthy is forgetting something. If you don't have a plan, you can't seriously pretend that you are having any real negotiation. Speaker McCarthy showing up at the White House today without a plan is like sitting down at the table without any cards in your hand. We Democrats have a plan, as I mentioned, raise the debt ceiling without brinksmanship or hostage-taking, just as it has been done before. And look, we know why the Speaker has struggled and can't produce a plan. He doesn't have the votes for it. He won't be able to pass a plan. If he exceeds to the demands of the far-right MAGA people and has huge cuts, a good portion of his caucus won't go for those. And if he just tries to do little bitty things here and there, his MAGA people won't go for it. He can't put it together. He knows it. And so he says, let's have meetings, but the meetings without a plan don't mean much. I mean, the most substance we've ever seen from one member is say they want to cut the woke agenda. Now, what does that mean? Show us cuts. Show us details. Show us your plan. Is Social Security and Medicare going to be safe? We don't know. A lot of them have said they want to cut it. Medicaid? Who knows? Show us your plan. Will our troops, our firefighters, our police officers be paid? No idea. Show us your plan. And at least one House Republican said on raising the debt ceiling, quote, "I'm a no matter what." So what are we doing here, Republicans? I'll bet he's not the only one. Listen, I get that it's not easy. When Trump was in office, I sat down with him. No threats, no brinksmanship, no hostage-taking. Instead, we presented a plan and moved forward. It wasn't easy. It took a lot of preparation. It took some tough decision-making. We got the job done. Because the costs of not owning up to our debts, the cost of default, would be devastating for the American economy and raise costs across the board on mortgages, on car loans, on credit cards, on so much more. Every American would be dramatically hurt. Not little nicks, but severe blows, if indeed, God forbid, we were to default. So one more time, House Republicans, come on, what's next? Show us your plan. You have an obligation to the American people to avoid default and lay out precisely and exactly what you want to cut to get there. Senator Stabenow.
Well, thank you, Senator Schumer. Well, let's first start with the fact that our country is seeing the most robust economic turnaround in a generation. In our generation, the most robust turnaround and strongest economy. Wages are up, unemployment's down, almost 11 million new jobs have been created, most of them in small businesses. Starting last month, there's now a $35 cap on insulin for people on Medicare. We know there's more work to do to bring down costs, and that's where we are laser focused. But what are the Republicans doing in light of all the great news? Their great idea is, let's tank the economy. Oh, that's good. They're laser focused on bringing down the entire economy by refusing to pay our bills. That's their response to the best economy in a generation. Our country can't make commitments to children and seniors and families, our military, and then refuse to honor them. But that's exactly what the MAGA House Republicans are doing. And to add insult to injury, the first bill they passed was to protect wealthy tax cheats and add $140 billion to the national debt. The next goal, they say, cut Social Security, cut Medicare, and let's add a 30% sales tax to everything the average American buys. They have their agenda. They have the House. They need to vote and show the American people where they stand and who they're fighting for.
Thank you, Deb. Senator, who's next? Heinrich. We go by seniority around here.
Or by alphabet.
Hello, everyone. Let's just start with the fundamental premise that America pays its bills and we pay our bills on time. And I think families all across this country, certainly in my home state of New Mexico, understand that. The time to figure out how much house you can afford is before you buy the house. We already own this house. The time to negotiate the terms of your mortgage is before you sign the mortgage. You don't get to get your February mortgage statement and decide that you're not going to pay the bill. And that's what we're talking about right now. We've seen this movie before. It wasn't that long ago, just over a decade ago. And the uncertainty that creates in our economy has real consequences for real people. So in my relatively small state of just over 2 million people, there are 455,000 New Mexicans who rely on Social Security. There are 450,000 New Mexicans who rely on benefits from Medicare. There are 140,000 veterans whose benefits could be disrupted by default. This is not something we can afford. And once again, if you think about it like a family, you know that if you don't pay your bills, things get worse. Your credit score goes down. Everything you do that you have to finance gets more expensive, whether that's your mortgage, whether that's your car payment, whether that's your credit card. We cannot afford to do this to the American economy right now at a moment when we have the opportunity to create an incredibly robust, strong economy and really show the world what economic leadership looks like in this moment.
Senator Hirono.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. You've heard all of us say we pay our bills. What is so hard to understand about how all of us need to pay our bills? That is why we keep saying, when we raise the debt ceiling, we are paying our bills. And we did this in a bipartisan way, even during the Trump years, which, by the way, the Trump administration added to the debt with the massive tax breaks that they gave to the richest people and corporations in our country. But now we have a bunch of MAGA Republicans in the House who have decided that they should fool around with the idea of paying our debts because they have an agenda. And what is their agenda? Their agenda is to cut government services, but they don't tell us what they want to slash. Do they want to slash Medicare, Social Security, programs that we all have been paying into for all of our working lives? They don't tell us that. But they think it's okay to hold our government hostage over whether or not we are going to pay our bills. Enough of this nonsense. Enough of this games playing. It's time for us to take responsibility, which, you know, even during the Trump years, the Republicans managed to do, but suddenly it's all up in the air. Stop this nonsense. Pay our bills. Don't hold our country hostage.
Thank you, Mays. Questions? Yes.
I hear you saying, show me your plan. It sounds like you're open to negotiations, and on that note,
We can't.
hold on, let me finish my question. Republicans are arguing that in 2017 you used the debt ceiling as a negotiating
Okay, second point, not true. There was never any hostage taking, never any say we're going to default unless you do ABC in 2017, and we got it done in a bipartisan way, plain and simple. And we can't even begin to talk to the Republicans till we know what their plan is. We know our plan. No brinksmanship. These are, as Mazie said, as Martin said, these are debts we incurred. We should just pay them, period. We can't even begin to have any kind of discussion until they show us a plan, and as I said, I doubt they're going to be able to pass that plan with just Republican votes in the House. Go ahead, Bolton. I skipped you last time.
If there was a discussion, are there things that Democrats would want, like having tax revenue pay for some of the deficit offset? Is there anything on the table that you potentially could?
The bottom line is we believe that there should be no hostage taking. We believe there should be no brinksmanship. These are our debts. We should just pay them. Yes.
Where are you on ChatGPT, and does Congress have a role in regulating artificial intelligence?
Well, I'm going to be meeting with some of our committee people in the next while to discuss that. Yes.
On the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, the House passed a bill. There's some proposals flying around in the Senate. Will you bring something up on the floor for a vote?
Look, I've seen the House proposal. Frankly, doing it to China. What about Iran? What about Russia? We may think of adding some new countries in.
Leader Schumer,
Yes.
What is your explanation for the slow start you guys have had? You've only had 3 votes
Well,
this
look.
year. I mean, is this a preview of what we're going to see
No,
in the
no.
next 2
Look,
years?
we just this is only our second week in session since we didn't come back till the 19th. The Republican process is a little more cumbersome than ours. They're having their committees vote on it today. We've been ready for a week and a half, but we're very hopeful that we will put the committees in place tomorrow. That's what the Republican leader thinks will happen. Yes, yes.
After seeing the developments in the last week on the classified docs issues, do you think that there is a role for Congress here, either legislatively or...
Yeah, Senator Peters in the HISNAC committee is looking at that. I await to see what he has to say. Last question, this gentleman down there. Yeah, I've talked to Senator Booker on several occasions, and he is trying to see if we can get some bipartisan support for police reform. Thank you, everybody.